Chapter 1. Creation. The Bible introduces the Sabbath at its beginning. We first meet the Sabbath in the account of God making heaven and earth, Genesis chapter 1 verse 1 to chapter 2 verse 3. Strikingly, it is God who, in a sense, observes the first Sabbath, chapter 2 verse 3. In this chapter, we are going to look, with the help of the New Testament, at what Genesis says about that Sabbath. We will make the case that God intends all human beings to observe a weekly Sabbath as a day of holy resting. We will then see that the Sabbath is a window into what God intended for the world at its creation. In this respect, the Sabbath is eschatological. That is to say, it points to the goal that God had for creation from the very beginning. Although the fall of humanity into sin appeared to thwart that goal, our fall in Adam actually prepared the way for its fulfillment in the last Adam, Jesus Christ. The Sabbath, then, draws together the great concerns of the Bible: creation, redemption, and the glory of God in Jesus Christ. God works, God rests. In the creation account, God makes the world and everything in it in 6 days. A seventh day follows that is set apart from the previous 6 in some important ways. Genesis chapter 2 verses 1 through 3 reads, "Thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the host of them. And on the 7th day God finished his work that he had done, and he rested on the 7th day from all his work that he had done. So God blessed the 7th day and made it holy, because on it God rested from all his work that he had done in creation." These verses conclude the account of God's creating the world that started in Genesis chapter 1 verse 1. We may now look at what they tell us about God and the creation, and then further reflect on their message in light of Genesis chapter 1 verse 1 through chapter 2 verse 3 as a whole. First, it is clear that the work of creation is completed. Verse 1 reads, "The heavens and the earth were finished, and all the host of them." Compare chapter 1 verses 2 and 30. This work was done in 6 days, so the 7th day will be different. It is not a day of work for God, but rest. Verses 2 and 3 say that he rested on the 7th day from all his work that he had done, and that on the 7th day God rested from all his work that he had done in creation. Though the word Sabbath does not appear here, a related word does. The Hebrew verb translated rested in Genesis chapter 2 verses 2 and 3 is related to the Hebrew noun translated Sabbath, Shabbat. There is therefore an implicit connection established between God's rest and what later Revelation will call the Sabbath. Further, the beginning of Genesis shows us that this day is set apart from the previous 6 days in at least 2 more ways. In the first place, it is a day that God blessed, chapter 2, verse 3. Earlier, God is said to have blessed the birds and the sea creatures, and to have blessed Adam and Eve at their creation, chapter 1, verses 22 and 28. In each case, that benediction is followed by the command to be fruitful and multiply and fill, chapter 1, verses 22 and 28. Thus, when God blesses the 7th day, our expectation is that this day will be marked by fruitfulness and fullness appropriate to that day. In the second place, God made the 7th day holy, chapter 2, verse 3. This is the first time in Genesis that God is said to make something holy, and it means that this 7th day was deemed different from the other 6 days. What distinguishes the holy 7th day is that it is set apart for purposes of worship. The resting in view on this 7th day is therefore a holy resting. To be sure, it is a day marked by the cessation of God's work in creating the world and everything in it. But that cessation is only the penultimate characteristic of the day. The ultimate characteristic of the day is worship, a worship that is tied to fruitfulness and fullness.